Medium man, physical medium man, physical medium man. What'd you buy? Was it something good?
What's up, guys? Physical Media Man back here again for another Physical Media Man Monday video. I have a video I said I was going to do a while back, which is the January monthly movie reviews. Looks like we got 9 titles to talk about. I do have a couple more from previous months that I had up on the shelf of things that I've watched that I didn't talk about, so I'm going to briefly talk about those. I don't think I scored them. But before I get started, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, leave feedback, do all that good stuff down below. I'll leave the links to my Instagram page, my Physical Media Man Store Instagram page, my Facebook page for Physical Media Man / Physical Media Man Store, my Facebook page for non-media related items, the Hodgepodge Garage, my email, my eBay, my Twitter, and my Letterboxd account. I also have February written down, so hopefully I'll get that out soon so I can get the rest of these movies put away. I did watch some of these on different streaming services and whatnot. So I actually, out of the 9 titles, I have 4 physical copies to show. The first 2 that we watched in, I think, November and maybe December on the other one, I'm not sure. First up is based on the Untold True Story. We got Hidden Figures. This was very good, and like I said, I don't have a score for these. So this tells the incredible untold story of Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, brilliant African-American women working at NASA who served as the brains behind the launch into orbit of astronaut John Glenn, a stunning achievement that turned around the space race. And it's really, I love when they show pictures of the real people at the end. This was very good, great performances. You got she was just on the Today Show when I was watching. I'm not sure how to pronounce her first name. P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, Janelle Monáe, and Kevin Costner, as well as Kirsten Dunst and Jim Parsons. Music by Hans Zimmer, directed by Theodore Melfi. But like I said, great performances, a really enjoyable film. It's an untold story, so didn't really know anything about it, obviously. And you really root for these women, and I mean, you kind of know what's going to happen, but at the same time, it's a really well done biopic type movie. I really enjoyed this one. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. We also watched Spine 1056 in the Criterion Collection. You got Cher and Nicolas Cage. This was a rewatch for me, first time watch for my wife. I thought she'd like this one. I remembered really enjoying it, and it held up. Follows Cher mainly, as well as Nicolas Cage. Cher's getting ready to get married to Nicolas Cage's brother, and Nicolas Cage and Cher kind of fall in love, and Nicolas Cage and his brother, their mother, I believe, is dying, and he goes over to see her. So he's not in New York when they fall in love and stuff. And yeah, this one's really good. It holds up well. Had a lot of fun with it. If you haven't seen it, definitely recommend it. Great dialogue, great story, good performances. Nicolas Cage is great in it. So yeah. All right, so now on to January. So first up, I don't have a physical copy of. We watched Remember the Night. This is the first of 4 films with Barbara Stanwyck and Fred McMurray together. It was perfect to watch it on January 1st, which we did, because it takes place leading up to Christmas and including New Year's Eve and day. So it follows Barbara Stanwyck, who is going to trial for theft or something like that, and Fred McMurray is the defense attorney, if I remember right, and he ends up, so it's right before Christmas, so that he ends up talking him into coming back later and doing the trial then, and then he ends up bailing Barbara out of jail, so she's able to to spend Christmas with her family. Well, come to find out she doesn't have any family, so he ends up offering to take her home to Indiana. So they're in New York in this movie, and offers to take her home to Indiana, where he's from, and I'm from Indiana, so this was neat because a lot of the movie takes place in Indiana. I don't believe it was filmed in Indiana, but they do play back home again in Indiana a couple times, which was really neat to hear. And yeah, it was a fun watch. I thought it was going to be a little bit better, but I'm going to give it 3 stars. Worth watching at least once if you haven't seen it, and pretty cool to watch it on January 1st. Next up, I don't have a physical copy of this either. We watched Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. This is the sequel to The Hitman's Bodyguard with Samuel L. Jackson and Ryan Reynolds. It's not as enjoyable as the first one. I giving it 2.5 stars. I don't want to talk about it too much in case you haven't seen the first one. But it's worth watching. It was just a kind of popcorn action flick that wasn't very memorable, but was worth watching. I just didn't love it. Next up, I do have a physical copy of. We got Harrison Ford in The Call of the Wild, which is the famous literary classic by Jack London. And I have the DVD, I think, of the original movie, which is supposed to be very good. I'll have to try to check that out at some point. They changed some things for this one, and all of the dogs are CGI. I thought they looked pretty good. I was pretty invested in this movie. I thought it was very good. Well done. Harrison Ford's great in it. I'm going to give it a 3 stars. I think I had pretty low expectations for it, so that might be why I liked it more than what some might, but I'm planning on keeping it. So yeah, there's that one. Next up, we watched the Banshees of Shearin, starring Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. It was also directed by Martin McDonagh, who did In Bruges, as well as 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri, and a couple others. So I always have enjoyed, or at least what I've seen of his work, I've really enjoyed. This one, my wife didn't like too much compared to me. I thought it was very well done, which I think she probably would agree with that too. I could see where you would definitely hate this one because not a ton happens, or there's not a bunch of plot, but I thought the dialogue was still really good, and the back and forth, and the characters are interesting, and I thought it was well shot and everything, and it's kind of deep, but maybe not deep at the same time, and I'm going to give it 4 stars, and I liked it, so yeah. I was trying to watch it before the Oscars came out, so yeah, this is back in January. Next up, we watched Jerry and Marge Go Large, which is another one based on a true story about this couple that they're close to retirement, and the husband finds out this method to basically win the lottery and have no risk, and he wins quite a bit of money and gets a town involved and stuff, starring Bryan Cranston and Annette Bening. This one was another one I thought was pretty good. I was hoping it'd be a little bit better just based on the trailer. Also has Rainn Wilson in the supporting role. But yeah, I still had fun with it. Another one where they showed some pictures of the real people after and kind of wrapped it up real nice with some more tidbits about the real people. So I'm giving that one a 3 star. Next up, in the Paramount Presents line, we watched another 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte. Eddie Murphy's getting ready to get out of jail in this one in a few days, so he's somewhat reluctant to help Nick Nolte, but he almost has to in this one. Didn't think it was quite as good as the first. Still fun to see the two together. Still an enjoyable film. I'm going to give it 3 stars too. Next up, this week that I watched this was leading up to the Royal Rumble. So not WWF, but WCW, more related. We got David Arquette, Oliver Platt, and Scott Cannon ready to rumble. Always enjoyed this one growing up. Really hope it gets a DVD or a Blu-ray at some point. This is the only way you can watch it right now. And yeah, I love this one. I was excited to show my wife this film. She's never seen it, and she actually enjoyed it and had fun with it. You don't really necessarily have to be a wrestling fan. It might help a little bit. It was really cool to see all of a lot of the main stars on WCW at the time pop up in this film and do different cameos and things. There's also a shot of John Cena before he was famous. He was like more into bodybuilding, which I didn't realize until I was reading the trivia about this one after watching it, and I went back to in the trivia on IMDb. It tells where it's at in the movie, so you can go back and check that out if you're interested. But I thought this held up pretty well. The music's enjoyable too. I went and bought the soundtrack after watching this again. So yeah, just a really fun film, especially if you're a wrestling fan. Giving it 3.5. Next up, we watched The Kingsman, which is the prequel, or kind of how the Kingsman became a thing. Directed by Matthew Vaughn, who directed the other Kingsman movies. And I didn't like this one a ton. I thought it had some neat aspects and some interesting things, and I just thought it could have been a little bit better. I'm going to give it a 2.5. It's kind of in the same vein as The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, another decently fun watch that just wasn't amazing. And then lastly, we got a comedy in the month of January, starring Michael Keaton, Christopher Lloyd, Peter Boyle, and Stephen Furst. We got The Dream Team. And I think at one point this was like you could only get this at Best Buy. I know I got this on Groove.com, and I think it was $5.99. So this ended up being a great deal. Had a ton of fun with this one. So this group here. So it's a wild and crazy comedy about 4 mental patients who get separated from their therapist on a way to a baseball game, and just a bunch of crazy stuff happens, and it's just hilarious. Peter Boyle especially, I thought, was so funny in this one, who's of course the dad on Everybody Loves Raymond. Stephen Furst you might recognize from Animal House as well as Up the Creek. But yeah, the cast is great. Just everything about this movie was pretty funny, and there were some really funny scenes. But yeah, especially Peter Boyle. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. Definitely keeping it. So I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. So yeah, here's all the physical titles we watched. I'm going to end up keeping all of these. I don't know if I'll end up. I probably won't buy Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. I don't know if I'll buy Banshees just because my wife didn't love it. I'll probably get Jerry and Marge Go Large if I can get it for a good price. And I probably won't buy the Kingsman, I think. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this. Yeah, I don't do these too often, but I do want to get caught up on February and March because we did watch a lot, especially in February. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully I gave you some good suggestions on some things to watch, because we did watch some good titles in January. So anyways, this is Physical Media Man signing off. Physical Media will never die. Physical Media Man. Physical Media Man. Physical Media Man. Yeah!